Are we streaming? It looks like we're good to go. Yay! Okay. Hopefully you guys can hear us now. I think I fixed my mic. So, welcome to a train wreck. One day I'll figure out technology. I'm just going to unmute this real fast to make sure I can hear it. Yep, it's working. Yay! Okay. I don't know what I did, but I deleted the mic and added it back in, and now it seems like you can hear me. Okay. So, welcome back, everybody. So, last week we talked with Ashley about some of our collaborative projects and what goes into creating these aquascapes. Today we're diving into the question of why is aquascaping becoming such a big deal? And this was something that we actually talked to specifically with some of our distributors last week about how there's a very clear difference between people who keep a fish tank versus people who are aquascapers. So today we're going to talk about the trends, the social media influences, and how you can become part of this growing community. So again, Shelby, how are you?
Doing good. How are you?
I'm great. So, is there any projects that you've been working on this week?
So I was working on our terrarium setup for our morning gecko and a cage for our chameleons, creating a natural environment for them to be in using different types of wood and soils and things like that. I even put isopods in the morning geckos to create a bioactive substrate with their natural environment.
So that's something that we'll have to talk about later on because we're getting some questions about our reptile sands and about whether or not that's bioactive. And I'm like, the amount of stuff I have to learn. I'm like, I'm a reefer. I thought I knew everything. I'm like, I don't. So that's really cool. I can't wait to see more of y'all's videos about those. Why did you end up with a morning gecko, by the way?
They're adorable, little, cute. They breed on their own, so you don't.
Where'd you get it from, though?
The Repticon we just recently went to in Orlando.
How was Repticon? Was Repticon good?
Oh yes, it was wonderful. We definitely came home with way more than we wanted to. We shouldn't. We definitely have a weak spot when it comes to reptiles. We're planning on just getting 2 chameleons. We came home with 4 chameleons and a morning gecko and isopods.
Wow, I want to get a couple more. I used to have some geckos and different reptiles also, and it's been a long time since I've kept a reptile. I'd love a bearded dragon. I want a bearded dragon so badly.
Yeah. Oh, I love them too. My nephew just got his first reptile was a bearded dragon, and he's in love with it. He enjoys it a lot. So
they're so cute. They're like little puppies.
They really are.
All right. So I think the first thing we have on our list is the visual and emotional appeal of aquascaping. So people always tell me that like fish tanks is like therapy. Is that something you've ever experienced?
Yeah, so to get a little bit more into perspective with that, I think a lot of times we're getting a little overwhelmed with the 9-to-5 jobs these days, and a lot of people are working a lot more than that. That bringing a little piece of nature in the home helps them have that peace of mind of like being able to get out and connect with nature, but it's at home now, so it's a little bit better.
Yeah, I think that there's actually a lot of research around people's ability to self-regulate emotions and how that's connected to how much time they spend outdoors. So if you're having a hard time with stress and stuff, a lot of times it's really like the kids say, go touch grass. But like for real, sometimes you need to go outside and spend some time with nature. So I think that that's a really good point. It's not something I even thought about whenever I was doing this outline, was that component of it.
Yeah, that's a big reason. Like, I actually have my walls painted green inside. It's a big color that most people do, blues, greens, things like that, and it helps them connect with nature. And it's not so much of like you're looking at the wall and you're like, wow, that looks like grass. It's just like it gives you that same feeling of you being outside in your subconscious mind. So it helps you relax more. Just like if you were to paint it like bright red or bright yellow, it actually does cause anxiety, and more people are less stressed with like green. So like the more green tanks and more nature and more plants you put inside, it makes you have that calm sense. Colors are been proven over and over again to calm people down in that way. So that's why that can work in its way. And also with like plants and anything like that, got to think of the plants naturally draw things out of the air and help filter the air. So a lot of people are more into clean living now with the problems of fast food, obesity, and things like that. So like it translates really nice when people want to feel like they're doing better for themselves and treating their body right, that just a simple plant in an aquarium can make them feel that way.
So Ashley actually said, if I'm having a bad day, Ashley is Blue Mind Ecosystems in the chat, you guys. She said, if I'm having a bad day, it always helps me to be around my tanks. I've been in apartments for years, and sometimes you don't want to go outside. It's nice to bring nature inside. My first year teaching, that was like the biggest what, you know how the principal comes in and like watches the teacher teach, and they give you feedback. Like his feedback was, you should put some plants in the classroom. I think it would be good for your students. So I went and bought some plants, and I do think it made a difference. And before long I had like animals on every surface that they could be animals on. So
Awesome.
yeah. Some of the mental health benefits, like the mindfulness. So I think it's not even just the having it around in the space. And you also want to make sure it's not discordant with the space. And I think that's one of the reasons why aquascaping, like these nature aquascapes, have become more popular over like the SpongeBob type aquascapes, because people do work really hard in their space now, and they do want their space to kind of flow and for colors to be relaxing. And then when you have this jarring, discordant fish tank, it can kind of just take away from all that hard work. So I think that when we're seeing these natural aquariums, it's blending into the space as opposed to being separate from the space. So like just being part of it is great, but I also think there's a lot to be said about the actual actions of, hi Aquatic Moose, hey you guys, the actions of actually taking care of the tank. So the aquascaping itself, but then like the pruning of the plants, it's one of those things for me, like mindless activities really helps to take down my anxiety levels at the end of the day. Laundry is one of the things I enjoy because it's a mindless activity, but also like just the motion, the repetitive motion of cleaning the algae off the glass and cutting plants and putting them in the trash can. And it's like, you don't have to think about it. And it gives your mind a second to like settle after a day of working and thinking all day. So I think a lot of that.
It's just like a bonsai tree. It's the same concept as that in a Zen garden. Just something to care for, something, it gives you a reward at the same time, and not just like mindlessly not thinking about other things, because that will keep your mind distracted. It's like, oh, well, I got to take care of this, I got to trim this plant. So it keeps you distracted from all your other problems, but also the fact that you're just being able to create something and enjoy it in the same time, where you're like, this is rewarding. So it gives you that reward system as well.
Yeah, the dopamine. We're getting real psychological now. Speaking of the dopamine, sometimes when we get those likes on the social media, that can help also. I know like Instagram and TikTok has played a huge role in making aquascaping more mainstream. What are your experiences with that, Shelby?
So that was something that was crazy to go through, and even try to just pick out one or two people. There are so many people doing the aquascaping and Instagram and TikTok. It's hard to choose because each one, my algorithm obviously is like built up around what I prefer. So it's grown and grown to like, even from like the smallest, scapes to some of the most gigantic and show-worthy tanks at some of these places. But Instagram kind of focuses more on like the photographs of the tanks and getting to see each little aspect of it, where TikTok still like does the little cute videos, and some people do really professional videos of them aquascaping. There's just so many categories of aquascaping in the social media that's been trending for a long time. And I think it has a lot to do with back in the day, like the pet stores weren't really taking care of it. We had big chains that you'd go into, and these fish didn't look so healthy. And I think a lot of it has actually stemmed from there, where people were like, well, I want to take this pet home and I want to give it a better home. What can I do for it? And then researching their natural home, their everything that they enjoy, what's going to bring them a healthier life, live longer, and things like that. So it's like just taken off so much of people just like, well, I didn't think that my fish could be happier in this home instead of SpongeBob house in the in the tank, and just overall healthier life for them. So it's really cool to see it trending up. Not only that, people are really artistic these days, and some people can't draw, some people can't paint, but there's people that can sit there and put an aquascape together, and that is showing their artistic abilities without necessarily having the skill to put it on paper. So
it's like sculpting to an extent, right? Like it's a 3D imagery.
Yes,
I know
exactly.
one of the things for me too, like when I was in high school, I had like 18 different fish tanks, like maybe more. I also worked at a pet store, so I was able to just bring things home as I wanted. But nothing was aquascape like how it is today. And like even this fish tank that I have back here, like it's not a great aquascape by any means of the imagination, but it's probably like 100 times better than what I had in high school. And yeah. I think some of that was like, it didn't even occur to me to really like try and make it look really pretty. Like I was like, oh, I like this plant, I like this castle, I like this plastic sign. And it was like an amalgamation of a bunch of things that I liked individually, but I didn't necessarily like them together. And it never even occurred to me to try and like make it cohesive. And then whenever I know who would have thought? But just my aquascaping strategies, even just coming into this freshwater side and just seeing what people can come up with, has pushed my own creativity. Like, I'm like, never occurred to me to do that. I wonder if I can mimic that or do my own twist on that. And I think that's super beneficial with the social medias.
Yeah, and with human species, and we always want to innovate something. So just coming up with a new thing. So everyone always wants to come up with something new. So they're just trying different things. It's really cool to see how it's evolved over the years of people just trying to push the envelope and make it even more incredible than before. Because you got some that are like, biotopes, which is like something that I enjoy looking at a lot. And it's just recreating nature in a tank. And then other ones are creating like a diorama style of nature, like a giant cave into a tiny tank. So it's like really cool to see that development in both angles of trying to do something in the tank.
The chat's talking about the other benefits of having nature inside is you don't have biting bugs, and it's also air conditioned or heated depending on the time of year. I think those are great pluses to bringing it inside.
Yeah.
All right. So is there anybody you want to showcase, Shelby?
That was really hard to narrow it down. There's just too many people. I really enjoy a lot of the tanks. I really do follow some of the contest people. None of them specifically, but each year what I do is I follow the contest and then I watch and see who's like the one in the top 100s that I enjoy, and then I kind of follow them. There's a bunch of them, so I mean over thousands of people, and I could not narrow it down to like showcase someone. Um, there's a and it really depends on which area of aquascaping you enjoy, from biotopes to hardscapes to just beautiful naturescapes, and they're from like all over the world. And it was too hard. I tried so hard to narrow it down. I enjoy watching someone off TikTok, but his name I cannot pronounce. He does what I do, but in a very more professional and clean looking, and he's been doing it for a lot longer. There was someone that actually started it all, who actually watches my videos, which made me so happy. His name's Ivan Miyake. I can't pronounce his last name.
Okay.
But he did where he took a tank out to nature, and he was pretty much known for starting it and doing aquascapes of the biotopes and catching local fish there. And then there's a more popular person now that's been doing it on social media that gets like millions of views, beautiful tanks. Definitely lives in a different country. I don't know which one it is, but has some incredible fish. And the way they lay it out is just so beautiful. The music, how clean it looks. It's just so cool. And then people like then realize, oh, I just fished off that dock and I can't believe those fish are right there. Like, how did you get those fish? And like, that's the same with my videos. People are like, what is that? Like, I caught sirens, which are native, and they look like snakes, and people are like, what are those? Like, and the newts, like, people don't realize some of our most popular spots where you go swimming at one of our springs, we were catching newts right there with our kids, and the people are like, there's newts here? Like, they could not believe and fathom that there was newts
That's
out
so
in the wild
cool.
right next to them. So it's something interesting to me to have a take like that where you're doing something right there, then and there, and people can see it, because then it gets them interested and realize that you're swimming in a body of water that belongs to these animals. And it kind of gives them, in a way, a conscience to realize that there's other little swimming creatures here. Maybe helps them pick up trash afterwards. You know, it might be a small thing like that, of just taking care of where you're at, because you don't know what's right there. And it's not so much that the people don't care, it's just they don't know. You know, it's you don't think of it. You're just enjoying
You
what's
do
there
better
in the
when you
moment.
know better.
Yeah, exactly. And so I enjoy those. And then there's the people that compete in the contest. Those are just incredible to see what they can achieve. Because sometimes they have like where they have like the backbone of the aquascape, so you kind of get to see what lays underneath all those plants. Because sometimes when the plants grow in, you're like, how is that? What is that? Like,
Yeah.
and you can see like how much work goes into it, and it's really cool to see. And then you have other people that are just doing, like, I set up a tank for this apistogramma and like their natural habitat and just showing the fish, and that's really cool too. So it's really, really hard to narrow down. But what I do is I just go on Instagram and I put hashtag Aquascape, and there's just tank after tank after tank of just really cool either layouts, the colors, the plants, the pictures they get. It's so cool how many people do it these days.
Shelby, I don't know if I know this. How did you get into aquascaping?
So that was 100% Grant. I don't even know where he saw aquascaping, but we did have, I think it started with the club. So we have the Florida State Fair every year that puts on the Aquarium Beautiful contest. And it's not necessarily an aquascaping contest. It's more of the health and the plants and everything else in your tank, and just having a beautiful aquarium at home. And then you just bring it to the fair, and then they judge it. And
How long ago was that?
oh man, believe almost 9 years ago.
Okay.
So it's been quite a while. And I did win first place in my category. He won first place in his. And it kind of like, we got excited about it, like we were enjoying the fair with our children and we won and won some money for it. And we were like, this is great. This is ecstatic. And then the amount of people at the fair that come around and you're just watching people like, wow, that looks really cool. And like just being able to share it with other people that might necessarily not have tanks at home. And that, 6-year-old walks by and that's the first time they've ever seen an aquarium with plants. It's exciting. You just feel so rewarded by just someone enjoying your piece of artwork. And it's in with all the art too, which is even cooler for me. I grew up just enjoying art. And when I had done my first tank for it, I was like, I really want it to be like a piece of artwork because that's all I wanted to do was paint growing up. So I painted the back of the tank, and that's kind of where like the showpiece kind of started. And I still do that today. And I won another contest in second place with painting the background.
That's awesome. I think this comes back to like that social media aspect too, though. Like when you can share your art with someone and someone else gets like inspired. Yeah, that's a good word for it. Inspired by what they're seeing. Like it's motivating to keep going.
Yeah, it definitely does help a lot when someone, like when I was doing the videos for TikTok, at first it was kind of hard. Sometimes they take off, sometimes they don't. I had one video take off like crazy, and I was like, all right, that gives you motivation to do more. And it's
humbling also that people want to see what you're doing and like listen to what you're saying, right? Like, like I'm always like, me? Like I don't have anything exciting to say. You do.
Yeah. I did, it's a hit or miss whether people are going to enjoy something or not. You could have like the coolest thing to you, but to other people it could be like, that's kind of boring. I don't care. So it's fun when you get people to interact and to enjoy it, or maybe even learn. Because I had some people that, weren't so nice in our comment section, but it's because they didn't understand. They didn't know what was going on and what was happening. Or sometimes
they're just not nice. Like sometimes I'm like, this isn't applicable. Delete.
Yeah, but I take those with a grain of salt because there's always going to be mean people online. That's okay. You just have to look at the positives, and that's what a lot of people have said. Like with just about anything.
So you were saying earlier about some of your favorite people that they're not from the U.S. I think this was a question I meant to ask you, but I think I'm just making the comment now. Like it's interesting to me how popular aquascaping was in other countries, and I think it also speaks to the internet's ability to let us know of other options because like I wouldn't know that this was a form of art if it wasn't for social media. And like some of the people in other countries who are doing this, like the caliber of their skill is just like, it's awe-inspiring. Like honestly, I don't know how else to describe it.
Yeah, I actually, even being in the world of aquascaping, I didn't know how many places have their own contest, which is crazy to me. Like, and there's some of them you can enter in from the U.S. Like I just found one today that was a Korean aquascaping contest that you can enter. There was only like 9 people in the U.S. that entered. The U.S. is actually far behind in aquascaping compared to some of these other places. And you would think, like, living here and you see it from our perspective, you would think we'd have like a huge world, but it's not as big here.
We're babies.
Yeah. Huh?
When it comes to aquascaping here in the U.S., we're babies.
Yes, exactly. Like there's a contest. I believe it's in Indonesia, where they build the inserts for the tank. Like they don't even build them in the tank. They build they get the exact dimensions of the tank, and they build them outside the tank. And I mean, they use so many little intricate details of little tiny sticks to roots to rocks, and like it's one solid piece, and they drop it in the tank. It's so cool looking, and that's like they build it before they even come to the contest, and then they have the contest in person and drop in like the aquascape and the plants and everything. It's really cool to see.
That's awesome.
Different forms of contests too. Ours has been ever changing since it's been in the United States. We used to have like the aquatic experience where they had small tanks and then like big tanks where you'd have like a team together doing the big tanks and then individuals for the small tanks. And now it's like we only have like the big tank competitions in person. AGA does like work classes sometimes, workshops, sorry. But they don't really have like the smaller tank competitions like they used to. And I kind of wish that would come back. So hopefully, as we're evolving, we get more contests and get to do things that would benefit people here.
So some of the trends that you're seeing, I made a list, and I sent it to you, and I think you agreed with it. So one of the trends that we're seeing on social media is biophilic design. And that's what we were talking about kind of earlier. It's like this growing movement to incorporate nature into homes and your workspaces. And that's really like where aquascaping becomes art, right? And I think as people are becoming aware of this new form of art and how well it fits into their space, it's becoming super, it's something that people, they don't have a problem doing. Like, so my sister growing up never had any fish tanks. And I had 18, as I said earlier. Hey, vibes. Everybody will remember one day. That's okay. And she was never interested in my fish tanks at all. And she recently started a fish tank, I think, over the summer. And I started sending her some stuff for it. Now she has 3 fish tanks. And
that's how it starts.
Multi-tank syndrome, right? But like,
Yep.
She was telling me how like just she didn't realize how peaceful it would be to just sit there and watch the fish, and like she always thought it would detract from her aquarium or from her house, and it was at first because she had hot pink gravel and a SpongeBob, and she had it like stuffed in a corner and didn't really like it, but her kid wanted the fish. And as I started sending her some of our Pisces stuff, I'm like, here, try this, try this, try this. Here's some plants. She's like, wow, like it just fits in my house. It makes me feel good. I enjoy messing with it. I never thought I would enjoy messing with it. And she's like, and I want this fish to be happy.
Yeah.
She's like, I get
sense.
it.
Yeah.
And she, that art that fits in your living space, I think is really, it speaks to her and to a lot of people, obviously.
Yeah.
Steven said, IAPLC top person from the U.S., Tommy, was still ranked 100 something. Grant and Shelby should try their hand in that contest. I think for sure. I'd love to see a Shelby tank in that contest.
Grant will definitely do really well. He's more of the like forward aquascaping, like getting the uniqueness. I already told him my idea for what I want to achieve, and I am going to be entering that contest, and I'm hopefully entering AGA as well this year. I have both ideas already ready. I just have to now put them in motion, so it's a lot harder than it looks. But back to having the tanks at home and to the social media. When I had started having fish tanks, I lived in the middle of nowhere. I had no friends to come over because I lived in the middle of nowhere. And I had gotten one of my fish tanks, and then it quickly turned into 3 fish tanks on my dressers. And this was back when I was going to high school, but it was just recently MySpace was the only social media. And MySpace is different than Facebook. MySpace was more of like, duck face and like all those funny pictures and your top 8 and creating your background on it and picking a song. But now Facebook kind of changes that, where you kind of show your life and what achievements you've done and, really what's going on with your life, since you don't connect with these people as much anymore. And that technology advancement is a big reason I think that people share and have more fish tanks, is because back in the day I wasn't showing all my fish tanks on MySpace. Like Facebook now, you're sharing all these posts of like, oh, look what I did this weekend, look at this cool thing, and people are like, oh, I never thought of that. So it's social media plays a big role in anything that we do these days, of seeing someone else enjoy something from nature, or, oh, well, that would look good in my house. Like that planted tank with those lilies would look really cool on this wall. So it's crazy how social media will influence people so much.
Yeah, I think, like, just to get nerdy for a second, that speaks a lot to the concept of participatory culture, which is the framework that some of my research was around, which is like this idea that a community doesn't exist without participation, and the participation, the self-growing community can't just be like you have teachers and students. It has to be this dynamic thing where at some point the novice can become the expert and is teaching the expert different concepts. And it's this idea of sharing, and sharing not to be like, look at what I've done, but also because people want to see what I've done. It's like this group of people are waiting to see what I do with this tank. Therefore, it's like this urgency to get it done, because people are relying on you, right? So it's not just this and sometimes people describe it this way, that social media is like this narcissistic, self-fulfilling thing. But I think there's like a lot of times it's not narcissism. It's a matter of wanting to share with your community, because they're going to be excited to see it, just like you're excited when they share stuff. So it not having someone to share things with definitely stifles. And when you can share with people, it feels good. Validation always feels good.
I think it's a lot of letting people know who you are too, because you kind of lose touch with people. You just kind of want them to remember who you are, and in a way, like, there's people that are nature people, there's people that are travel people, there's and it's not necessarily, to me, about wanting everyone to like you. It's more of like, this is what I like, I want you to enjoy it with me. If you don't, that's
Find
okay.
my tribe. But, yeah, finding your group of people, like, like that's such a good feeling when you feel like you fit in somewhere, like that. That's a good thing.
We enjoy the aquarium and reptiles, that's for sure. We're not into the reptiles as much, but like when we stepped foot, we were like, these are our people too, like people who have chameleons and reptiles. So it's finding your friends too, in adulthood, which is weird, but you do find your friends. It's so hard
making friends as a grown-up. Like, I say that all the time. Like, making friends as a grown-up is so hard. It was hard as a kid, but at least like they were there. Like, as a grown-up, it's we're all busy. We're walking past each other. We like please don't make eye contact, right? Stephen said there can be satisfaction and fulfillment from being able to teach someone something, allowing that person to teach someone else. Oh, I agree with that so much. That's a very good point. Like I'm a teacher. I get a ton of satisfaction from being able to see someone grow. That's a good feeling. So we talked a lot about like the social media stuff. Do you think like local clubs have much role in this at this point?
Oh yeah. Local clubs are where it's at. Honestly, that's where most of our support comes from is our local club. Bunch of them watch us, follow us on all social media, and just in person give us like the most compliments and have been building us up, whether it's from aquascaping to our business. And it's just finding like minds. So like the clubs are really where it's at, just being able to get with people that, you know, understand you. I mean, we are a little crazy with the amount of aquariums, so they kind of look at us like we're crazy, but they get it in a certain way, you know. They understand it. So we definitely enjoyed the clubs. It's my favorite is to travel to different aquarium clubs because all of them have a different outlook and, you know, opinion on everything, and just enjoy meeting new people and all over. Like I have friends all over the states because of the clubs.
So one of the things that me and Sadie and Shelby always push when we're at the shows and we're seeing people is we encourage people to share their aquascapes and their aquariums. And this is one of the reasons why we do this. And if you're watching, I'm sure most of you watching right now probably are sharing. But even if you, like, I hate when people are like, I'm going to share it, but don't judge me. Like, I'm like, just share it. Like, I think that the second you start actually participating in the community that you're a part of, whether or not you're an active participant or not, if you have an aquarium, you're part of the community. When you start participating in that community, I think that it's going to grow, one, your skills at aquascaping, and two, just like your fulfillment for all the different reasons that we've talked about. So I want to really encourage all of you guys to make sure that you're sharing what you're doing. So one, I like just seeing what people do with our products and other people's products too. And it's cool to see a rock on a counter or in a box that we have, and then to see what someone does with it when they take it home, and like how they turn something that is an inanimate object into something that's really living art. It's really cool. I really like that. So we're at 37 minutes today, so I'm gonna cut us off. Thank you guys for staying with our technical difficulties earlier. Make sure that you're sharing our content. Make sure you tell people that we're doing this every Thursday at 1 or as close to 1 as I can with technical difficulties. So we loved exploring why aquascaping is growing and how you can be part of this exciting movement. Let us know in the comments what got you into aquascaping or what's holding you back. I'd really like to hear about that. Your insights can and will inspire others. Don't forget to subscribe, and we'll see you next week as we dive into another aspect of this amazing hobby. Bye, guys, and swim with Pisces.